अभी ये इसमें मत सदा जी इसमें मत झाड़ मारिए. Good morning to all. Now we are moving towards the day 3, session 1, and the topic is stages in research process and sampling. And we are fortunate that we have with us Professor Rakesh Raman, sir. Now he is working as a professor at the Department of Economics, Banaras Hindu University. He is also a gold medalist and received a SP Sinha medal for his PhD. Basically, he is from economics, and his specialization is macroeconomics, and has worked extensively in the field of informal sector workforce, education, and agriculture. He has a good number of national and international publications, and he is also a member of Indian Economic Association, Indian Society of Labor Economics, and Economic Association of Bihar. Sir, we have 200 participants who have registered for this online FDP. Actually, 250 have registered, but we by force, so we have to choose only 200 as per the ATAL who is sponsoring or approved this FDP. And I kept everyone as an attendee because I think you will be only seeing 6 to 7 members present. But remaining, I kept it as an as absentee, so that any disturbances in between can be avoided. So because of that only, I kept all these attendees. So now, sir, I formally invite you to deliver the topic that stages in research process and sampling.
Very good morning to all of you. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And can you see the PowerPoint?
So far not, sir. Just try to just check your slides, sir. Just click on the slides. It will come to the front screen.
Has it come?
Not yet, sir. Sir, if you have you gone check the click that arrow mark?
Yeah, I have done that. And then it has taken me to the window. Let me close it and do it again.
Yes, sir.
Has it come now?
It is uploading, sir. I think it will be coming.
Yeah, it shows that it is presenting because my screen.
It shows black now. I think it will take few time to come actually.
Few second. It might take few seconds to actually come. So kindly let me know when it comes.
Yes, sir. Now it comes, sir. Now it comes. Stages of research process.
Right. So
please go ahead.
Fine. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Behera, for your kind words. It is indeed a matter of pleasure for me to participate in this faculty development program being organized by NIT Patna. Humanities and social sciences wings of IITs and NITs have come up in a very big way. And these are posing challenges and competition for the university system. The departments located in different universities now are being forced to pull up their shorts in order to face competition. I'm very happy to learn that the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, NIT Patna, has come up really well in no time. And I'm obliged to congratulate the director of the institute, the head of the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, and the entire team for this hard work. And I feel that this faculty development program which the department is organizing is not only going to put the department at the forefront, but it is also going to be helpful for the participants. Dr. Behera just informed me that the number is around 200 of our participants are there. Well, I have been asked to talk about the stages of the research process. So I'll be talking about it. Although the topic is very broad because the entire spectrum I have to cover in that 1.5 hours that is at my disposal. So let me start. See, we all know, friends, that research is an integral part of higher education. The purpose of higher education is not only a dissemination of knowledge already created. The purpose of higher education is also creation of knowledge. If you talk about the primary education and secondary education, there the primary job is dissemination of knowledge. Knowledge has already been created, and the job of the teacher or those who are in the field of primary education or secondary education is to pass that knowledge on to the taught, to the students. That is their job. But as far as those of us who are in higher education are concerned, our job is not only dissemination, though it remains a major job, our job is also creation of knowledge. What happens is with the passage of time, we start facing new questions which have not been faced by the previous generation. Since these questions were not faced by previous generation, so obviously the previous generation or the knowledge bank does not provide us answer to these questions. So we need to do research in order to find answers to new questions. The problem of climate change and its impact on agricultural productivity. See, 50 years back, this problem of climate change was not felt. So obviously the society did not have an answer to it. But now you are facing the problem. So you have to do researches to find answer to this problem. So you need to find answer to new questions. Not only that, you need to find answers, new answers to old questions. Old questions had old answers. But with time, you have come to realize that the old answer to those old questions are wrong. So Earth is no longer, Galileo realized that Earth is not the center of the solar system. Center of the solar system is something else. So new researches are done to find new, better answer to old questions. We need to test, validate, confirm, revise, refute the theories that we have in our respective disciplines. Theories which once upon a time were sacrosanct, unassailable, unchallengeable. Now with passage of time, you start doubting whether the theory is still valid. And how do you know whether the theory is valid or not? Again, for that, you do research. You need to actually look at the foreseeable future, anticipate the challenges, and find ways and means to handle the challenges. So you need to do research even for that. You have to establish cause and effect relationship. Because if so many problems are there, you need to understand the cause, and if you know the cause, then you can manipulate it so that the effect can be manipulated. So you need to do research for that. You need to do research for tools, developing tools, techniques, etc. So research, from my friend, is an integral part of higher education. No matter which branch of higher education we are in, whether it is physical sciences, social sciences, humanities, any branch of social sciences, you know that in the field of higher education, research is mandatory, compulsory, integral. Research, am I audible? Hello? Am I audible, Dr. Behera?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So when you look at doing research in higher education, the question comes, what is research and how do you actually look at research? I'm just giving you a very simple definition of research, just in order to emphasize and put forth the point that research is a structured and systematic process. So there are a number of steps involved, and these steps we need to understand before we take up the research journey. My job, the topic that has been ascribed to me, is to talk about research process. So as a prelude, let me say that research, we say, is the search for knowledge. It is an organized, structured, purposeful, and systematic investigation. Research is defined as an organized, structured, purposeful investigation. Research is not remediation of information. You get down at Patna railway station and just inquire about good hotels in Patna from the rickshaw pullers and the coolie and people standing nearby. And after half an hour, you tell your friend that I have done a lot of research on hotels in Patna, and I have come to understand that X hotel is the best hotel. No, it is not research, because it is only collection of information. That is not research. Research is an organized process, structured process. When I say organized process or a structured process, what I mean is there are a number of steps involved in the research process, and these steps come one after another in a very systematic fashion. You cannot swap between stages. You cannot say that I'll do this first and this I'll take up later. No, these steps which we are going to discuss, these stages in the research process which we are going to discuss are follow in a very orderly fashion, one after another. That is why we define it as an organized and structured process. So if all you have to find about hotels in Patna, then you need to formulate that as a research problem. You need to know the variables. Variables means what are the criteria that you are developing to define a good hotel. Then you need the proper sampling design. You go for a proper calculation of sample size, develop some tool of collection of data, questionnaire, interview, whatever, and then you go and administer the questionnaire, collect data, tabulate data, analyze data, and then you come up with a conclusion. So it is a complete comprehensive process, and this process, friends, are always carried out with an open mind. When I say with an open mind, what I mean is with no bias. You don't do research to disprove something. You don't do research to prove something. You do research to know the reality. So it is done with an open frame of mind. Many times I have found my research scholars in my department coming and telling me, sir, I am not able to prove that hypothesis right. To that I always respond, your objective should not be, sorry, your objective should not be to prove the hypothesis right. Your objective is to test the hypothesis. So it is always done with an open frame of mind to solve new or existing method. So if you are looking at the characteristics of research, obviously that is not my topic and I'll not be speaking on that. What I'm trying to highlight is one very important characteristic of research is it is structured and systematic. Research is always a structured process, means there is a proper structure with different stages involved, and these stages come one after another in a very systematic manner. And that is why probably the organizers, Dr. Behera, has asked me to talk about this structured process, this systematic process. So let us turn our attention to research process, because the topic is long and I cannot spend time just discussing the prelude. Now, what is exactly process? How do you define a process? The Cambridge Dictionary says that it is a series of actions that you take in order to achieve a result. So in order to take a result, you take a number of steps. And this entire process of taking one step after another in order to complete the journey is called step. René Descartes defines process as the whole secret of the method, starting from the circle and gradually going up the steps to the most complicated. So starting from the simple to most complicated, he says that. So actually, whenever you are doing something very systematically in a structured fashion, then that work has to be done in a step-by process. It has to be done in stages. And those stages which come one after another in a very systematic fashion, we call a process. So we need to talk about research process. Now, as we discuss research process, the research process could be analyzed in a number of ways. If you talk about research process, as I said, research process means different stages involved in the whole process of doing research. The question is, what are these processes? What are these steps? To that, I say that when you talk about research process, you can analyze it from different perspectives. For example, you can analyze it from the perspective of the layers of the research process. We can talk about research onion, and I'll be talking about that very briefly. Then you can talk about the trauma and pressure that the researcher undergoes and how the trauma and pressure changes that as a process of research. You know that, probably you know that, now there are two different kinds of researches possible, two different approaches to research, two different kinds of principal kinds of research, quantitative research and qualitative research. So we can talk about the process of quantitative research separately and the process of qualitative research, because the research process differs between quantitative and qualitative research design. And research for most of us who are in the field of higher education, friend, a lifetime endeavor. So you can see how, as you start as a young researcher, what is the process of evolution, that from a young researcher you become an assistant professor in a department to a senior professor and ultimately emeritus professor, and how do you research that process. So very briefly, let me talk about the processes of research, starting with the layers of the research process. Right? Here I talk about Mark Saunders' explanation of the research onion. Saunders, Davis, and Thornhill, I've given you the source, talk about research as a multi-layered process. It's like an onion. You go on peeling one layer and the other layer will come up. Then you remove the second layer, the third layer will come up. So this is how research is. There are a number of layers of research. And I believe if you are able to see the slide, you can see these layers, layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, 4, 5, 6. So many layers are there. And what are these layers? In fact, as you indulge into the research process, the first layer is your research philosophy. Research philosophy means what? See, what is research after all? Research is the exploration of reality or truth. You want to know the truth. You want to know what happens to agricultural output if rainfall increases or decreases. You want to know that how the productivity in agriculture changes because of use of fertilizer or because of use of HYB seeds, blah, blah. So what you are actually interested in, you are interested in finding truth or reality. So the first thing that would come across that is important for you is to know truth. What does truth mean to you? Does truth mean objective, valid, verifiable reality? Does truth mean something that has happened in the reality, happened in the past, or that is happening in present? Does truth therefore has an objective existence? In physical sciences, you know that truth always has objective existence. So their philosophy of research is truth positivist philosophy. They would not, they have no, they clearly make distinction between truth and belief. Belief has got nothing to do with truth, because there can be truth no one believes in, and there could be beliefs which are not true. So truth and belief are different things. Belief is a subjective concept, truth is an objective concept. So if you talk about physical...
Sorry to
Hello.
interrupt. So your
Yes.
Slides are not moving. It's still in the first slides.
Is it so?
Yes, sir.
It's not, it's moving now.
It only sees the first slides only.
God. I don't know why it is happening. Let me go again and...
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Are you able to see this slide, onion shape? The title, the research onion.
It will take a few seconds. Yeah, now it shows. It is. You can see the slides. Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can see the slides.
Moving forward now. The second slide, next slide. Can you see this transition?
No, sir. No, sir. Still in the that onion slides.
Happening, I don't understand.
Okay, sir. You can proceed, and later on we can share your PPT if you can share with us. I can also transfer to the participant also.
Can I put it in this fashion, and every time I just go for...
No, sir. You can proceed the way you have done it. If it is
fine.
Not
Let me try. Okay, fine. This research onion slide, I believe you are seeing at the moment.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So,
sir.
fine. Okay. So what I was actually trying to impress upon is there is one way of talking about a research process, and that is using the concept of research onion, which was put forward by Mark Saunders and others. This explanation says that research is a multi-layered process. It's like an onion. You go on peeling the first layer, and then you get the second layer, you peel out the third layer, you get like that. And the uppermost layer, the first layer, is research philosophy. It is your philosophy about truth. How do you actually look at truth? What is truth to you? When I say what is truth to you, truth may mean different things to different people. For example, if you talk about physical sciences, to them, truth is something objective. Truth is something which is valid and verifiable. Truth is something that has happened in the past, or truth is something that is happening now in reality. That is the meaning of truth in physical sciences. Now, if we talk about social sciences, actually, when we say truth, truth can be subjective. Truth can be a product of human decision. Truth based on consensus. Caste system. How do you believe in, why do you believe in caste system? Because there is a consensus, yes, that there is a system like caste system, and you believe in that. Truth which is based on coherence. That is truth which is, you seem logical. Truth which is pragmatic, which is useful. Truth which is intuitive. Truth which is authoritative. Somebody has said this, that is why you believe in. These are truth based on subjectivity. So philosophy is very important. What is truth for you? Is it objective or is it subjective? If you have objective, we have one kind of method of exploring the reality. If truth is treated as subjective, you have another kind of method of treating reality. If truth is a combination of objective and subjective, you have got a third type. So you find that you have positivist approach, you have critical theory approach, you have interpretivist approach, you have modern approach, postmodernism, pragmatism. These are all research philosophies, and these are all going to be very, very crucial. You need to determine for yourself before you start the research process, what is your research philosophy? What is epistemology? That is, what is knowledge and how knowledge is required. Then you need to understand about ontology, means whether truth is objective, subjective, or constructive. Then you need to know about axiology, means how do you actually arrive at truth, through a deductive process or inductive process. Once you see that you are going to adopt a deductive process, then comes the issue of adoption of methodology or research design. Is it going to be a quantitative research design or qualitative research design? If quantitative research design, only one kind of quantitative method you are going to use. So what we are calling here mono method quantitative, or you are going to have multi-method quantitative, or mono method qualitative, multi-method qualitative, or a mixture of quantitative and qualitative, then you decide that. Once you decide that, then you go for the choice of data collection technique, or you go for choice of the exact method. Is it going to be a survey method or ethnography or phenomenology or grounded theory, whatever. Then finally, what kind of data, cross-sectional or longitudinal, then data collection, data interpretation. So this is the research process from one perspective, whereby you define research as a multi-layered process. Now, secondly, when you try to define categorize research again, let me change the slide now manually because it is causing problem, and unless they see the slide, it will be difficult to comprehend. Right. So let me now show you another slide. All right. This is the description of research process, based on the anxiety or trauma that you face.
I have not seen the file, sir.
Hello?
You have not seen. Now it is coming, sir.
It is coming, maybe because actually I went to my department, but there was power cut, so I had to come back to my residence, and I'm using the internet connection, so maybe that is causing some problem.
Yes, sir. But your audio is fine. Sir, there is no issue.
Audio is fine.
Yes, sir.
Audio is fine. Okay,
yes,
okay, no problem. So now there is another perspective, another way of talking about the research process, and which is based on the anxiety or trauma that the researcher faces. So when you start the research process, the process of initiation, there is apprehension and uncertainty. So researcher comes and he joins the as PhD scholar and is doing some kind of workshop, and then there is a lot of apprehension and uncertainty. Now, what kind of research I am going to do? Who is going to be my research supervisor? Whether I'll be able to complete the research or not? all this. And then you are allotted a supervisor, you start working on the research proposal, and then you finally select the problem. Once you select the problem, there is an aura of optimism. Fine, I have come up with a wonderful research problem, and henceforth I'll be investigating this, and I'll be coming up with something really, really very important. So that optimism. And then you start exploring. And as you start exploring, the anxiety returns, because you know that it is like searching the needle in the haystack. You're looking for truth or reality relating to a particular issue, and you find that you have the whole world to actually explore in order to find the reality. So again, there is anxiety. And then you start formulating, yes, out of this, actually, what I'm concerned with, only this. So there is some evaluation and understanding. Then you start collecting the data, and that gives you confidence, that creates interest, and finally you are able to write the report, so that is closer than satisfaction. So psychologists say that the entire research process could be divided into these stages of apprehension back to relief and satisfaction. Able to see this changes slide? Obviously no, right? Don't know why it is not happening. What is the issue? I am not able to understand. Why is slide?
Might be the application. There might be some issue with the application. This Microsoft Teams applications.
Maybe it is because of that. And since I'm new to it, we use Google Meet and Zoom and all. So
Yes.
I've never used. Maybe that is another problem. So are you able to see the slide now? Hello.
It will take few minutes to come to the screen.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I understand now. So now let us talk about the third way of talking about the research process. Now, what is this third way? Third way is talking about different stages of research. And then I just told you briefly, and I believe that you already had few lectures on what is research, and obviously people might have talked about quantitative and qualitative. So there are two distinct research approaches. One you call the quantitative research approach, and second you call the qualitative research approach. Quantitative research design or qualitative research design. One follows the deductive method, other follows the inductive method. So in one, what you do, you start with hypothesis and you end up your result by testing, that is validating or rejecting the hypothesis. Second, you start with a general problem and you end up with formulation of hypothesis. So you have distinct quantitative and qualitative researches are there, which are distinct kinds of researches. And definitely the research process in quantitative research is different from the research process in qualitative research. So if you are able to see this slide, I have here in this slide depicted the process of quantitative research. So the quantitative research starts with identifying the broad area of research, formulating the research problem, that is dissecting the broad area into smaller areas and then coming up to the exact problem that you want to research on. Then doing some literature survey and identifying the literature gap in order to pinpoint your research problem and research questions. Then you formulate the objectives, questions, and hypotheses. Then comes the stage of preparing the research and sampling designs. Then you go for collection of data or information, which could be quantitative or qualitative. Then you go for entry of data, processing of data. Then you go for testing of hypothesis and drawing conclusion. Then comes the stage of making generalization and analysis. And finally, the stage of writing report or publishing findings. So if you talk about quantitative research, friends, you have number of steps, starting from the broad area of research to coming up to the final stage of writing report or publishing thesis. This is what we do. This is most of us we do because as young researchers, because in economics, I'm a student of economics, so I'll be giving reference to economics only. So in economics, we do not encourage our students to go for completely qualitative research, because qualitative research gives a lot of autonomy to the researcher. And if the researcher is biased, not matured, then the qualitative research most of the time does not yield the desired result. Hanji?
ahead, sir. There is some disturbance of the audio.
Hello.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, fine. I thought there is some question. So what I was telling you, that since qualitative research requires some kind of maturity, some from the on the part of the researcher. So normally we do not suggest young researchers to go for adoption of completely qualitative research design, and we encourage them to either go for quantitative research design and, if possible, mixed method research design. But still, qualitative research design can also be carried out. And qualitative research design, again, does not follow the same process. It has completely different research process. And this research process actually doesn't start with formulation of hypothesis. Actually, when you are doing qualitative research, if you are able to see this slide, the process changes. Now here, you start with definitely with identification of broad area of research or the key area of research. Do some literature survey to concretize the broad area and know your research problem. And then you choose the qualitative method, the right qualitative method, whether you're going to go for case study method or ethnography or phenomenology or grounded theory or content analysis, whatever. Then you choose the right research method. And then you go for collection of data. Then there is coding done, data chunking done. Then you develop the conceptual categories, make comparisons, use some kind of memoing, analytical memoing, and then finally formulate hypothesis. So you see here, when you are doing qualitative research, the whole research process is different from when you do quantitative research. Because in quantitative research, after literature review, you are able to zero down on the literature gap, and then you are able to formulate questions and hypotheses. And then the methods are adopted such that we have data and information to test the hypothesis. So quantitative research by default ends when the research hypotheses are validated, when the research hypotheses are tested. That is, when the hypothesis gets converted into a thesis. I think most of you must be knowing that hypo means less than. So hypothesis is less than a thesis. It is your presumption. It is the tentative generalization of fact. And when you collect data and you test it, then you generalize it. Then the tentative generalization, the tentative part goes. Hypo goes, and what you are left with is a thesis. This happens in quantitative research. But in qualitative research, where the area is completely new, where you are actually doing some kind of exploratory research, you do not start with research hypothesis. So you start with observation, and then you try to develop patterns, and finally, end of the research process, you are able to formulate hypothesis. So there are two distinct approaches, quantitative and qualitative. We can talk about research process of quantitative research. We can talk about research process of qualitative research. That depends on you. And then, friend, finally, the fifth way, I'm just talking about the ways in which the research process could be actually explained. And then I tell you that there is another process, maybe I call it jokingly, the research being a lifelong process. And here you see, when you start as a young researcher, you feel that you're the boss. You can do anything. I'm going to research whatever I want before you enter the PhD arena. You all feel, we all felt, I also felt that now I will do something that is going to be really very important and game changing. I will do research on this, I will do research on that, and then I join PhD. When I joined PhD, my supervisor told me, forget about all this nonsense. Now this is the topic on which you want to work. So then I decided, okay, fine, I'm going to research whatever my professor wants. So as a PhD scholar, you do research in whatever your professor or supervisor wants. And then you become assistant professor. In Western University, you know, there is tenure committee, which gives you tenure to new researchers. So then you want to do research which satisfies the tenure committee. you are not able to pursue your own, say, love, your own field. You do research based what your tenure committee says. And then you mature and become a professor. And again, you are not allowed to do research in your field because you do research in the field grant committee wants you to do, because they give you grant. And then you become emeritus professors feeling that I'm going to research whatever I feel. And finally, there is research in peace, and you finally superannuate. So this is also type of research process, friends, where we keep on thinking that someday or the other we'll be getting a chance to really explore the field which I truly want to, and probably many of us never get a chance. Anyway, friends, I just told you there are different ways of explaining the research process. And when there are different ways of explaining the research process, then obviously when somebody is telling you to about research process, he is faced with a dilemma. Which of these four, basically four, fifth one is just I just showed you to create some interest. Out of the four ways, which way I should choose to explain research process? Whether I should be explaining the research onion process, the multi-layered process of research, or whether I should be talking about that trauma and anxiety and how these change in different phases of research, whether I should be talking about the stages or process of quantitative research or stages and process of qualitative research, what should I be doing? Well, I believe that most of you are doing research in economics or social sciences. And initially, many of you are asked to do some kind of quantitative research. I'm not talking of those who are in sociology or anthropology, because by default, their research is qualitative research. But if you talk people who are in economics, if you talk about people who are in commerce, or people who are doing researches in NITs and IITs, where by default some kind of mathematics is grouped into their learning process, research is primarily quantitative. So I have decided to talk about the research process primarily with reference to quantitative research. What I'm reiterating is there could be different ways of talking about the research process. I just explained to you these ways, starting with the research onion, to the psychological trauma, to the quantitative research process, to qualitative research process. What I'm going to do is talking about the quantitative research process. I'm going to talk about quantitative research process. And when you adopt the quantitative research process, the first thing that you come across, I've already shown you the slide, and that slide tells you that there are different stages. That is identification of the broad area of research, and then doing some literature survey and formulating the main research problem, and then doing this review of literature. The entire process I had through one slide I tried to show you. Now what I'm doing now is explaining these stages one by one. I repeat, through a slide I intended to show you that a quantitative research process necessarily involves 9 to 10 distinct stages. The first one is identifying the broad area of research, then formulating research question, then doing literature survey, blah, blah. So let me talk about these stages one by one, these sub-processes one by one. The first one obviously is when you are doing quantitative research is identifying the broad area of research and formulation of research problem. I'm showing you a slide that shows the great man, Albert Einstein, and see what he has to say. He says that if I had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on it, I would use the first 55 minutes determining the proper questions to ask. So he says that the first thing that you need to know is the research question. Is the main research problem. What problem do you have? Research problem do you have? I have spoken to many research scholars of my department and elsewhere. And when I ask them this question, what is your research problem? What they exactly do is just narrate the topic. They read out the main topic, that the topic on which they are registered. I said, no, no, that's the topic, fine. Can you explain me what you actually intend to know? What is the main research issue? And many a time they fail to explain the research issue exactly. So you need to understand the research issue first. That is the first process of the first stage in the research process. That is identifying the broad area of research and formulation of research problem. The question is, how do you actually identify the broad area of research? Research problem actually starts with identification of broad area of research. The question is, how do you actually identify the broad area of research? The answer is, the broad area of research is analyzed adopting a detailed process, and that process of identifying the broad area of research is yes, just show you the slide. I'm very sorry, because of some issues, slide are not moving. So what is the first stage? I said first stage is identify the broad area of research. The question is, how do I identify the broad area of research? The answer is through a number of things. The first is observation or personal experience. Many times research scholars come to us saying that they want work on me, and when I ask them the question, have you thought of any research problem or research issue? They say, sir, I want to do research on this. I still recall a student only last year coming to me and telling me that he wants to do research on impact of Manrega on women empowerment. And why Manrega on women empowerment? He said, sir, I've read that Manrega is really empowering women by providing them livelihood opportunity, by transferring money directly into their hands. But living in my village, I found that they are not empowered. Although they are earning, money is directly going to them. But once money comes to them, they hand over this money to their husbands or the male members of the family, and their lot has not changed. So I would like to know, why is that despite the government's effort to transfer money, provide employment to women and transfer money into their hand, women are not actually getting empowered. Now he has observed this. So personal experience or observation, normally you start from there. Personal inclination, your interest. You have been a student of economics and you have been taught different papers. And then the teacher teaching you, say, labor issues. He highlighted the problems of weavers in Varanasi, saying that how government claims that it has done so much for the weavers. Still, weavers are a very poor lot. They are an exploited lot. And he explains very accurately and delicately the problem of weaver. And that creates your interest in that field. That you start thinking that if I pass out, if I finish my MA, I'll explore this issue. Then reading or brainstorming and intuition. You read, you discuss, you have discussion. For example, this farmer crisis and the farmer strike, and you discuss with your friend. There are people who are saying what the government has done is justified. There are people who are opposing this, and you have a hot, heated discussion with some of them. And then you realize that is a very important, very interesting issue, and which could be explored. You are reading the findings of certain research, and from there, you said, well, this research, this piece of research has answered a number of questions, but still there are so many things where it is not very clear. So it has created more questions than it has answered, and you are interested in a particular question. You get attracted to conflict or controversy. You have been taught certain theories, and you feel that the theories are not valid anymore. You know that when you ask a particular question relating to a particular segment of society, teachers say, sorry, we know very little about it. So there is area of darkness. That encourages you. There are changes in development. So you see, the first research process actually starts from here. You come across different things which actually creates interest. You read different things that create interest. You have brainstorming, you have theories that create interest. So the first step in the research process is identifying the broad area of research. Hello.
Go ahead, sir. Your voice is audible now.
Okay. So, sorry.
Please go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, fine. So then the question is, when you are saying that you have identified a broad area of research, the issue is how to convert that broad area of research into a research problem. I'm talking with a spatial reference to students of social sciences. How do you actually convert broad area of research into a researchable problem? I tell them.
I think Dr. Rakesh Raman has some issue with the network. I request the participant please wait for a few minutes. Then I think he'll be connecting again. Requesting the participant please wait for a few more minutes. He'll be joining soon. There might be some technical issues. Requesting all, please wait for a couple of. I think he has joined. I will have. I will have to make him a presentee. Me, sir. I think
Hello,
your audio is
am I audible now?
yes, sir.
Yeah, there is some power problem, and that is why internet is having issues. Anyway,
Yes,
am I audible now?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go
Hello.
ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead,
okay,
sir.
okay. I'm very sorry, but I think these things are beyond my control. So I was telling you that you have to formulate the broad area of research, and when you formulate broad area of research, there are four P's which have to be taken into consideration, especially for those of us who intend to do research in humanities and social sciences. And these four P's are people, problem,
Your audio. There are some issues with your audio, sir. Now we are unable to hear a voice. Requesting participant, please wait. I think some technical issues, and that's not in our hand because of some network issues also. So please wait for a couple of minutes, and soon I will be joining. Can you hear me, sir? नहीं ना? I request the participant please wait. I think he's having some network issues. So we are trying to contact him and he'll be back soon. Let's hope he'll be joining. He'll be joining in a couple of minutes. Dear participant, I'm extremely sorry, and because of this network issues, and the expert has shared the information that he is going to stop this presentation from this point because he's having some difficulties at his end, and he's having the second half, that is around 245 lectures. So he'll be also discussing the same thing, the part which he left, and again I will discuss about the tools and methods of data collections. Sorry for the inconvenience, and we will join our next session at 11:45. Hope you don't find any difficulties for that session. You may leave or you may stay here, but our next session will start at 11:45. That will be presented by Dr. Sukanta K. Naskar, outcome-based learning and approach. So you may join around 11:45 or you may stay here also. It's up to you to decide. But for this session, he has told me that he will not be available right now. So he will be covering his session the second half, that is scheduled at 2:30.